What's up, guys? Welcome to another video. Today I'm going to start doing creating the ability to enable us to buy weapons. So I'm gonna create a blueprint that is going to hold the weapon. We're gonna place them on the wall, on the aisles. Maybe do it on the outside to be quicker. And yeah, we're gonna be able to use our score to buy the weapon. And I think I'm just gonna do that in this video. So for starters, we are going to go and find our blueprints folder and create a new folder called weapons. Weapons. And I'm going to right click and create a new blueprint class of the type actor, and I'm going to call this master weapon. So every weapon in the level is going to derive from this blueprint. First of all, in the components tab, I'm going to add a static mesh, and I'm just gonna call this the weapon mesh. And just for testing, I'm going to search for a cube, and I'm just gonna try and make it thinner, so like it's like a shape of a weapon. So let me go into the Z and X and place 0.1 values, and maybe like a 0.7 on the Y, so it's a bit smaller. And let me just drag this into the world to see how it is. So let's just rotate it. So because I don't really have any weapon meshes by hand, I'm just going to use this as a testing, this little mesh as a testing method. So we're going to basically, instead of having a proper gun mesh, we're going to use this one. So what I'm going to do now is basically, like we did in the last video, our obstacle, we created a little collision, so we know when we can interact with it. So I'm going to do the same thing. So let me just go find your master obstacle, and we just basically are just going to copy and paste this. But before, I'm going into the master weapon and adding a new component. That's going to be another box collision. Let's drag that into the top to become our parent. And I'm just going to leave it like this, it's fine. So here you can see that we have a little cube that we can interact with. So probably going to do it just a bit longer on the Y, on the X, sorry. Just make it, I don't know, 42. And I'm just going to go into the master obstacle and copy and paste this. Let's go into the event graph. Let's grab actually first let's click on your box collision and let's add both of these events, so on begin overlap and on end overlap. Now we can paste it, and that should be working fine. We go, and we just need to create, right click on this price node and say create variable, because it doesn't exist on this blueprint. And here we're going to set the price for our weapon, and it can be, I don't know, 100 for testing. And now let me just check on our player character when we take care of picking the weapon. There you go, we have our actor to buy, so it's going to be fine. But now we don't want to destroy our actor. So what I'm going to do is, so on your player character, when we press F to buy something, after we do this, I am going to drag from the actor to buy and cast to master weapon. because we want to destroy the barricades, but we do not want to destroy the weapon. So if the cast fails, meaning it's not a weapon, I'm just going to destroy it. If it is a weapon, actually I'm gonna want to destroy it anyway, but I'm gonna do something else. I'm going to create a new variable on our player character and call this primary weapon. I'm going to make that of the type master weapon, sorry. It can be a reference. Let's compile and save. And I'm probably going to create, let's have like 2 slots. Call this secondary weapon. Secondary weapon. Go. Also, I'm going to need a third variable, I was thinking, of the same type, but we're going to need to call this equipped weapon. So we need to know which weapon we have equipped. So there you go. So what we're going to do is, if we press and we are able to buy, we are going to set our equipped weapon. Actually, no, we need to first check if our equipped weapon equals, let's say, our primary weapon. And if we check that that's true, that means that our equipped weapon is our primary weapon slot. So we're going to pick our primary weapon and we are going to set it to this master weapon. And if this is false, meaning it's on our secondary weapon, we are going to set our secondary weapon to the weapon we just bought. I know this is probably a little bit confusing, but I'm going to try and explain again. So we first, when you click to buy, we're going to waste our score if we have enough, and we're going to check if the actor to buy is indeed a master weapon. If it is, this cast is going to be true. And then we're going to check if the weapon that we have in our end is the primary weapon. If it is, we are going to switch out the primary weapon. If it's not, meaning what's in your end is our secondary weapon, we are going to switch it to the weapon that we just want to buy off the wall. So it's like in Call of Duty Zombies, when you approach the wall, the weapon that gets substituted, the one that gets swapped, or the weapon that you buy off the wall takes the place of the weapon you have equipped in your end. So that's basically what this does. I hope it's clear, and it should work. But right now this is only code, you don't really have a way of seeing this. So I'm going to now select a 1. So right click, press 1. We're going to get, so if we press 1 on our keyboard, and let's get a 2. 1 is for our primary weapon, another one is for our secondary weapon. And so I'm going to, instead of doing all the logic to equip the weapon and such, I'm just going to print a string with our primary weapon. I guess I can get the name, get object name, get the display name, maybe it's better, and let's put it on the screen. And if we press 2, we're gonna just copy and paste this for our secondary weapon. So, but I can tell you right now the thing that's going to happen if we test this. But let's just test to see if it's working. We are going to start the game, and then we go into the wall to buy. So it should appear a message. Oh, it doesn't, I know why, sorry. We need to go back to the master weapon. We forgot to set our collision here to overlap all. Actually no, because remember we created this specific collision response or object response, so we need to put this into custom, click on overlap, so we can overlap all, including the player. So now if we play, we should get a message that we approached the weapon, and we're going to be able to press F. You can see that it costs 100. Our score is going to go back to 400. We did not destroy the weapon. I'm going to take care of that in a minute. And if I press 1, it's going to say it's the master weapon because we do not have any weapon. Actually, it's going to say, oh, interesting. If I'm pressing 2 right now and it's not displaying anything. Let me just check the player character. Okay, I know why it's turning true for being in a primary weapon. It's because we're not assigning any values just yet. This equipped weapon is the same thing as that primary weapon. But what we need to do to recognize that is that we need to right click on our master weapon and create a child blueprint class. And we can just make this, call this the test weapon. So we have another reference, and basically we can leave the same thing. You can see that the mesh is the same. And we can just take out this one and drag in our test weapon. It's going to be the same thing visually, but in the code you'll see the difference. Let me drag this out. There you go. So if we play now and start, we can approach the wall to buy a weapon. And now if I press 1, it's going to say that we have our test weapon equipped. And if I press 2, there is nothing because I do not have a weapon there. So if I press 1, you can see the print string. Basically, when we press 1, we're going to want to equip it in our end. So yeah, that's working. Maybe a nice thing to do, maybe it's, let's check if our if the secondary weapon doesn't have a weapon, because we're going to want to start like with a pistol. We're going to start with a weapon, but our secondary slot is going to be empty. So what I'm going to do is, before I do this, I'm going to drag this out. So I'm going to need to find some space. I'm just going to drag this to the left. I'm going to pick this, drag it out, and I'm just going to test. Well, does this secondary weapon slot equals to nothing? So is it empty? Doesn't have a reference? If that's true, we are just going to set that to our secondary weapon. If that's false, we're gonna check this. So what I'm adding here is basically I'm checking if it's the first weapon we buy, we are going to have our secondary weapon clear. So if this is true, we're just going to jump in and set it to the secondary weapon. If it's false, meaning we have 2 weapons, each one in 1 slot, we're going to need to check which one we are equipped. So now, if I do this, I just bought it, and if I press 2, you can see that we have a test weapon. And 1 is clear because we are going to spawn with a weapon. So I think I'm going to leave it here because this is basically it's the basics to go into the wall, buy a weapon, and assign it to a slot. In the next video, I'm going to change this and actually can demonstrate visually the weapon in front of us, and I'm going to set it so we spawn with a weapon. So I'm going to create one more. I'm going to create another test weapon, so we have 2 to play around with. And yeah, I think that's it. So thank you guys so much for watching. Any doubts, leave them in the comments. And I think maybe I don't know, maybe a couple of days from now on, I'm going to start doing that tutorial series that I said, the replication and multiplayer tutorial from the basics, so you guys can understand. And if you want, you can go back into this project, pick what you learn, and use what I'm going to teach you to make a project like this, but correctly working. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.